Hello everybody, I'm Chris Schaub, and tonight's listening notes are Duke Ellington, live at Newport in 1956 on Columbia Records. If you're enjoying the channel, please like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends. In the description of the video, there'll be links to purchase the album via MoFi. They've got a nice reissue you can buy, as well as you can stream it via SongWhip on Apple or Spotify, whatever you like. If you are interested in purchasing it, you might find a used copy like I have. It's a mono on Columbia from 1956, and I'll show you the one I've got. I'll pull it off my record player here, and it has a specific kind of label called a 6-eye. Okay, so a 6-eye means that it has 6 eyes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And CBS Records owned CBS owned Columbia Records at the time, and these little eyes are the CBS logo, the little CBS eye logo. Well, that's the 6-eye. So if you find a 6-eye, it's mono, it's not stereo, but they sound great, and it's a really nice way to experience the recording. Put it back and not scratch it. MoFi's version of the recording, I'm sure, is great as well. They always do a good job. The vinyl record actually has one limitation. It's only got 5 tracks on it, 5 of the songs from the concert, though one of them is a suite, and it's in 3 parts. The CD and streaming version has the complete concert. So there's like a Catholic priest giving the invocation. He's a jazz fan. There's the Star Spangled Banner is played. There's a lot of commentary. So it's kind of a fun listen. It is an advantage over the vinyl to stream it or have it on CD in that case. So this comes out as a live record, but it's only about half live. They found a recording in the late 90s, I think 96, that the Voice of America had recorded the concert as well, and people were comparing the performances and noticed that they sounded different, and they couldn't figure out, well, how are they different? It's the same concert. What had happened is Ellington had gone back into the studio after this recording and re-recorded some of the stuff he wasn't totally happy with. This concert, Ellington wrote the Festival Suite, which is the first cut on the record, specifically for the Newport Jazz Festival. Jazz festivals were starting to become a big thing at this time, so he really wanted it to sound good, and that was early in the set, and some of the players weren't even there for the first part of the set. I don't know why that was. So it was not probably as well rehearsed, and it was probably missing some members, and so he recorded that and I think one other piece. And they interlaid the 2 recordings from the concert and the studio, and they put crowd noise, and so they sort of made a not so live album, but a lot of it's live, and the important stuff is live, the important tracks toward the end, and they actually put like crowd talking and so forth, so it sounds like a really great live album. It's one of the greatest jazz records. It's definitely the record that put Ellington back on the map. His career had been kind of waning a bit because he was of an earlier generation. He was the big composer of swing and big band music, and he was a serious composer in that era. Wrote some very serious pieces. He's considered a legit 20th century composer, but he had kind of he'd just been older and lost a little bit of his fame, and this concert put him right back on the map, and a good thing. This happens nowadays too, where you see people on social media pumping artists that haven't put out new music in 20, 30 years, and the reason is that they've figured out that if they don't stay in the air, if they don't stay current, at least being played by new generations, that in some cases the music could get lost or just forgotten. So it's a good thing. Ellington was a pianist, composer, band leader, songwriter. He was born in D.C., Washington, D.C. in 1899, died in New York in 1974. One other note about the actual albums. If you're going to get it on vinyl, make sure you don't get a Jazz Wax, Wax Time, Doll, or Doxy, one of the sort of European labels that they sometimes press the recordings from, not the best sources, digital copies, things like that. What you want to get is you want to get an authorized copy. That's why I'm suggesting the MoFi, or try to find a used original one. But it's a sad truth that just record stores are selling these knockoffs from Europe, and the artists don't get compensated in many cases, and they're not of the best quality, in my opinion, and I'm entitled to that. So this is Ellington's jazz orchestra, his big band. It's usually a 16 to 18 piece band. Trumpets, saxophones, trombones, piano, bass, drums, guitar, and clarinets in this case too. This recording is listed on the United States National Recording Registry in 2022 is when it made the registry. There's like 650 some songs on that recordings list, and so that's or records rather on that list. So that's a pretty important list to be on, and it shows the magnitude of this recording in jazz. So his band is Duke Ellington on piano, Cat Anderson on trumpet, and Cat Anderson is his sort of high note specialist. You'll hear these really high notes on trumpet, and that's Cat Anderson. Willie Cook on trumpet, Ray Nance trumpet and vocals, Clark Terry trumpet, Quentin Jackson trombone, Lawrence Brown trombone, John Sanders trombone, Britt Woodman trombone, Johnny Hodges alto saxophone, Russell Procope alto saxophone clarinet, Paul Gonsalves tenor saxophone, Harry Carney baritone saxophone, Jimmy Hamilton clarinet, Jimmy Wood double bass, Jimmy Grissom vocals, Al Lucas bass, Sam Woodyard drums. So getting into the tracks. The first track on the album is Festival Suite, Ellington and Strayhorn, written by Ellington and Strayhorn, Billy Strayhorn. It's called Festival Junction is the first part. It's a medium swing, starts with a clarinet introduction. Notice the counter line of trumpets and saxes against the clarinet. It's almost like the clarinet will say something, and then the trumpets and saxes will say something. So it's like higher pitch, lower pitch, almost like a woman and a man talking. It's a really interesting contrast. And then the second part of the suite is Blues to Be There. It's a more relaxed blues, great piano intro by Duke, a really strong solo on trumpet by Cat Anderson, and listen for the clarinet too. I mean, I think a lot of people aren't used to hearing clarinet in a jazz context. Ellington wrote quite a bit for woodwinds and clarinet especially, and it harkens back to the era of Benny Goodman and all the great clarinet players of the early era of jazz. But it's just something that if you're not used to that sound, it might be a really interesting texture for you to take in. And then the third part of the suite is Newport Up. It's an up-tempo swing tune, a lot of great solos, Clark Terry on trumpet, Paul Gonsalves on tenor sax, takes a nice solo. Listen for the mutes on the trumpet. They're using like plunger mutes, they sound like, they kind of like color the sound. They open and close over the end of the trumpet to kind of give it that effect. And it really allows the trumpet to do a lot of really expressive things. And there's different types of mutes that you can put in a trumpet as well. And listen for the doubled sections before the drum break. It's a really cool drum break that Woodyard takes. And then side B starts with Jeep's Blues. I think this one was also re-recorded. It's Ellington and Johnny Hodges. It's a sweet, relaxed kind of tune, kind of blues. Notice the hi-hat keeping the pulse. It's real smooth. It's got a nice texture to it. Johnny Hodges takes a great alto sax solo. The alto sax is the higher saxophone, and the tenor saxophone is below that in its range. And then we get to the tune Diminuendo and Crescendo in Blue. Now this tune was the tune that put this album and this concert on the map and really gave Ellington his sort of second career in a sense. The song starts off with the diminuendo section. Diminuendo means to lowering in volume, and crescendo means to raise in volume. And in between the two sections of this tune, I think they're kind of two separate tunes, but they're kind of put together here. There's a 27 chorus solo taken by Gonsalves. That's 27 choruses. So a chorus, remember from our first video, is an entire time through the song. So that's 27 times through the song soloing. That's a long solo. And supposedly what happened was, the mythology is, but I'm sure it's mostly true, is it kept building and building. And you can hear Joe Jones, which is a drummer that played in the earlier years with Ellington. I guess he's by the stage with other people, kind of like, rooting him on and saying things that kind of encourage the band. And you can hear just the crowd getting into it. And supposedly there was a woman who was this platinum blonde figure, gets up and she starts dancing. And then all the other people start standing up and dancing. And it turns into a bit of a scene to where the police are kind of trying to keep control of it. And it's not that it turns into a riot, but it turns into, according to the liner notes at least, something that was notable enough where it's just sort of Ellington's band brought the house down, and the 27 chorus solo really was a big part of it. So this is getting written up the next day in the newspapers, and people are talking about it. So Ellington knows he's got something here that he's going to put out a record now, and it's going to be kind of a big deal, which probably also explains why he went back and re-recorded some stuff just so that he would have the best possible album coming out. And then that's exactly what happened. He's back in the charts, and he's back in people's conversations about the great Duke Ellington, and has a whole second career because of it. One of the things to notice in the recording is the drumming style in these recordings. Usually with like more modern jazz, the drummer's bass drum, the big drum that he plays with his foot, is usually a lot quieter, keeping almost an unheard, just barely perceptible pulse with the bass player. But in this case, you've got more of a pulse, a little bit louder pulse, but then they drop bombs where it's like boom, boom to accent. You can really hear the bass drum. It's really strong. So notice how the drumming style is a lot more, it's a lot louder, it's a lot more pronounced. He's really hitting the crash cymbals and really doing kind of like a loud rock and roll, not rock and roll, but like it's not like little quiet like backroom jazz. I mean, the drummer's really going for it. So definitely listen to that because it's a big distinction between some of the recordings I've done, like with the Keith Jarrett group, where it's a totally different sonic landscape, but it's all jazz. It's just in different eras. So to close this out, Ellington had a thing he would say at the end of every concert, maybe not every concert, but a lot of concerts. And he would say it, I'm going to say it to you because it's Valentine's Day, and it's kind of a perfect day to say it. So here we go. He would say, "You are very beautiful, very sweet, and we do love you madly." Hope you have a great day, and hope to see you again soon.